Hi, my name is Andy Park, and I'm the Director of Visual Development at Marvel Studios. The Visual Development Department was formed in 2010 by two amazing artists, Ryan Meinerding and Charlie Wen. Around that time, they were about to start developing concepts for Avengers. The president of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, told them to form a team of in-house artists, knowing that there's going to be all these movies for years to come that are connected. They thought it would be a great idea to hire more artists and to have full-time artists that are always here working on these films. I was the first one to be hired in the visual development department, and our main job in our department is to design the characters. So all the heroes, the villains, a lot of times those are costume characters on real actors. Other times they're more CG characters like Thanos. And we also design keyframe illustrations. So we're in the very beginning of the movie making process. There's a script being written. We are developing paintings of key moments that could happen in the movie. And that helps the directors, the producers, everyone to see this singular image and get excited about the film of what this film potentially could look like. I grew up loving comic books and I dreamed of drawing comic books. And then in my sophomore year, I went to San Diego Comic-Con. I went to different companies and showed my portfolio of artwork. I got hired. So I drew comic books for about 10 years. Eventually I did go to art college. That was the first time I got formal art training. Eventually I wanted to make a switch in my career from going comic books to doing more concept art. So I started to learn how to paint digitally. I got a job over at Sony Santa Monica and I worked on the God of War video game franchise. After that, I got hired by Marvel Studios. At Sony, I met a guy named Charlie Wen. He was the director of visual development for the God of War games. Another guy named Ryan Meinerding was one of our freelancers that worked on God of War 2 for a couple months. Both Charlie and Ryan were working in film. Eventually they started, working for Marvel because they knew I was a huge comic book fan. For me, after I watched Iron Man 1 in the movie theater, I had a new dream. I wanted to work in the Marvel film so bad, and luckily I knew the right people. Number one thing is your portfolio. It comes down to your work has to be strong. It needs to show that you're able to do the stuff that we're doing, You could be friends with everyone, but if your portfolio is not strong, then they're not going to want to hire you. And then the second component is design. So how good are you at creative designs for costumes, for creatures, for characters, for villains? How good are you at painting key story moments? Similar to this, this is like a keyframe that I did for Black Widow. For this one, they asked me to paint a moment of Taskmaster fighting Black Widow on a bridge. So I was able to paint that also with Scarlett Johansson's likeness. I also designed the two costumes. So if you're able to do kind of all those things and show that in your portfolio, then you have a really good chance of getting hired at Marvel Studios. Our department is working in the very beginning of the movie. A lot of times even before there's a director, sometimes even before there's a script. So for example, on Guardians of the Galaxy, Kevin Feige came to us, there was 6 of us. He said, we're gonna do a movie called Guardians of the Galaxy. It involves a talking tree and a talking raccoon. You guys spend 2 weeks, paint whatever you want. So we spent 2 weeks just looking at the comic book, see the stories of these characters, look at how they were drawn, and then we have to come up with our own story or look at the story that Marvel is already establishing and try to translate that. For example, like Ant-Man, comic book design that's really cool in the comic, but if you just take that and translate that directly, it could look kind of funny or goofy. So how do I take that and make that realistic? For Ant-Man, knowing that his suit was made in the 60s, it's a containment suit with the pin particles coursing through the costume. It has to be very much like an astronaut suit where no air can get in. So I took a lot of influences of old astronaut suits, different car parts. I don't want it to look too modern. So I was doing a lot of research and then I start doing versions. And then from there, we'll show it to the director, the producers of Marvel Studios, and they get to decide what they like. And usually they never pick something right away. So it's like round after round and we take notes, we go back until everyone decides that's the look of Captain Marvel, that's the look of Ant-Man. And then from that point, my job as director of visual development is to work with the costume designer. So I start working with them, giving them more detailed drawings of the glove or the boot or what is this texture or what is this area. We need to see all the views from the front to the back. What does the helmet look like? So we'll work with in-house modeler and Adam Ross in making the helmet in 3D. It helps them to actually make the real helmet that you see, and then we start doing fittings, and we'll put a prototype helmet on Paul Rudd, put an early costume on him so that we can start seeing what are the problem areas. And a lot of months of going back and forth until you see that final suit that you see in the movie. It's a lot of work, but by so many different amazing artists, it's very rewarding to see like the final, once you finally see it in the movie. Just getting the look, the illustration, the concept illustration approved. I would say the fastest would be like a month. The longest it took for one character to get designed was like 6 months. And it's not just me. I'm not the only one trying to design one character. Like there's several other artists trying to design that same character. And then so that's just the design part. And then once it goes to the costume designer and they have to build the suit for real, usually one suit usually takes about, I would say, 3 months. It could take longer than that. Like I really enjoyed designing Hela for Thor Ragnarok, but that was one that was so involved because it wasn't just one look. That costume look was a combination of a real practical costume with CG elements, because we knew this character was like very otherworldly and that she would be like changing at any given moment. I spent a lot of time just doing the initial versions, and then once working with Taika Waititi, and then eventually doing all the other versions. I did everything from different types of makeup to different hairstyles to different costumes to all different types of her antlers that came out, even down to her powers. I spent a good like 6 months just doing versions after versions until we saw it on the film. Concept art affects kind of all stages. It's in the very beginning, just like the writing is like a foundation. It affects definitely the design of the characters in the film. It affects the costume department because they're the ones who actually have to make the costumes. It affects very often the art department. When we're working on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we were also doing a lot of designs on Ego's planet because it was a unique situation where Ego was also a character and a planet. And sometimes we've done vehicles as well. Like we did a lot of versions for the Hank Pym quantum vehicle. We also work with VFX. Like a character like Hela, I was working with Jake Morrison, the VFX supervisor, extensively. Once they start with the VFX companies and trying to get the look, sometimes we run into some problems. So then I'll start doing some designs over the VFX shot. So actually doing paintings on top of the actual shots of the film to help further designs. And then on top of that, after the film's even made, there are many times we do illustrations that are in the marketing realm. This is a poster. A lot of times we do marketing illustrations, which was a keyframe done for certain events like San Diego Comic-Con, and then we also do like the art books that show all our concept art. So it's a unique department in the film industry where a group of artists get to see a film and work on every aspect of the filmmaking process. We're definitely honored to be able to be such a integral part and such a connected part to all these films. What happens is a lot of times in the beginning of film, when we're working on character designs and concept art, usually there's no actor. So I'll paint just some generic head. Once the actress gets cast, then I'll go back to that painting and paint in her head. So that's why eventually when the artwork gets released, it looks like, I painted her from the beginning, but I actually had to paint her likeness afterwards. There have been times in the past when I've tried to paint other actresses or actors, doing my own casting. No, it's never worked. They've always just kind of looked at it and be like, oh, we could tell who that is, but no, thank you. At the end of the day, my job is to serve the film, to serve the director, producers, to help get the director's vision onto the screen. So of course, like as an individual artist, I'm going to have my own sensibilities, my own flavors, I'm going to try to influence as much as I can from my research, from my design choices. But at the end of the day, it's up to the director. It's up to the producers of Marvel. This should be the design, that's not my job. My job is to give them choices and to do my best. Very often, there won't always be agreement amongst the different people in leadership. My job is to continue giving them options, trying to make everyone happy. So it's not an easy job. As far as design-wise, character designs, I'm gonna pick 3. Ant-Man, Wasp, and Captain Marvel. I really, really, really enjoyed designing those characters, and I loved just being able to work with the actors, and trying to help realize these costumes, working with the costume designers. Yeah, I think those characters were really challenging. So many months of hard work was put into those that it's something that I can be really proud of when I finally got to watch their movies. I'm not the only one, obviously. Myself and, obviously the directors and the producers, as well as all the artisans, like the costume designer and the specialty houses and all the different costumers and the VFX as well that help. It's a teamwork. It's a team effort. This is my 10th year at Marvel Studios, so it's really hard to pick one scene that's my favorite. I'll answer it as a couple of films again. The very first Avengers, when you first see that turn, when you see all the Avengers in New York. That scene, not only as somebody who worked on the film, but as a fan who grew up in his teen years reading Avengers, reading Marvel comic books, that was a moment that was just like, oh my, I can't believe I'm watching this on screen because Avengers Endgame just happened. I think that would be my other favorite scene is the moment that Captain America says, Avengers assemble, and then you see all of them charging. That was another moment that kind of transcended just me, Andy Park, director of visual development at Marvel Studios. I became that boy again, that fan that used to read those comic books. I don't know if your cameras can see it, but my office looks like a toy store. I always loved toys as a kid. As an adult, I don't play with them as much, but I love collecting them and I love buying them. They make these very accurate 1/6 scale toys. They're posable and they're very movie accurate. So besides seeing Cate Blanchett for real in this costume, I think the second thing that I really love, is just such a treat, is to be able to collect these hot toys. I could see all the hard work that myself and all the other people put into this costume and be able to hold it in my hand. It's pretty special. I had to go talk to Kevin Feige. Two of our leadership in Lou D'Esposito and Victoria Alonso, they were playing ping pong. I said, hey Andy, we heard that you play ping pong. Yeah, yeah, I like it. And they're like, come on, let's play. And I was playing me against them two. I was like, oh, I need a partner. And I looked to my right, and who happened to be there? It was Paul Rudd. Hey Paul, come play with us. So he came over, so I was playing with Paul against those two. And then as I was playing, I just remember thinking in my head, please somebody take a photo. No, I have not. I only saw him at San Diego Comic-Con when he was at the Hall H panel when they announced the Eternals. That was exciting. I can't wait to watch that. I'm pretty active on social media like Twitter, Instagram, I have YouTube. And yeah, a lot of people, they leave comments, they want to know more, they want some secrets. Usually I'm silent. And I have a lot of friends who they know that they can't ask certain questions. If they watch a trailer, they're like, wait, why is that? What's going on there? I'm not gonna say. I want the fans, I want my friends, even my family. I want them to be able to enjoy these films without it being spoiled. I've been working on the Black Widow film, currently working on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and I'm also working on WandaVision. But that's kind of all I can say. I'm always rooting for the DC Comics movies because at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I grew up reading comic books. Mainly, I was a Marvel comic reader, so at the end of the day, I'm working on the films that I want to work on. I read some DC comics growing up, but not much. But I have a lot of friends who work on the DC films, and a lot of them are great. So continued success, for both companies. But I think I'm right where I should be. You have to be collaborative. You have to be able to work with a team. You need to be humble. You need to be able to take criticism. You need to be able to take direction. You have to be open to other people's ideas and to have a thick skin. When someone doesn't like your design, they're not saying they don't like you or they think you're a bad artist. That's kind of the main thing, trying to really be collaborative, be open, and be humble.
Those are cool.
No, I've never seen this before. Let me sign this.
Yep.
Pressure.
It's very happy.
Pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.